Okay, and we're live. So thanks everyone for coming to today's Node.js Community Committee meeting. We have quite a few panelists in participants in the meeting. So I'm gonna quickly just do a round of intros down my list. I think we'd probably consume too much time if we went through and did an intro for everyone as we used to. So I'm tuning Siren. We have Ahmad. We have Anne Marie. We have Dan Shaw. We have Jem. We have Giuseppe. We have Tracy Lee. We have Manil. We have Michael Dawson. We have Tracy Hines. We have Waleed. We have Zibby Keaton. We have AJ Roberts. We have Ben Tiriel. And then we have Jasim. And apologies if I pronounce anyone's name incorrectly. Okay, so we have 10 items on our agenda today. And we are also going to be ending a little bit early for a private session, just to let everyone know. So the stream will probably be ending around 12:40. Okay, so before we jump into agenda items, do the initiatives have anything to share, report, let us know about?
I don't know, Dan, if you want to mention next week is the general user feedback session.
There it is. User feedback. We had a nice, deep dive into TELUS last week with an enterprise focus session and generating more interest. And we're looking at putting that on a regular cadence. And next week, we are going to be doing a general feedback session, and we'd love help and support in getting the message out. And we'd love to have you join us as well. That's all.
Awesome. Okay. Are there any other updates from the initiatives? I will share a quick report from the moderation team, as we are supposed to. So over the past week or 2 weeks, it doesn't look like there was activity. There was on April 23rd, there was a user that was blocked for spamming the GitHub. But I don't know if that was within the last 2 weeks or not. So beyond that, nothing to report there. Okay. I'd also real quick like to share an update from the website working group, or not working group, initiative, website redesign initiative, that we've kind of agreed to that we are complete in the information architecture phase of what we're doing. So now we are moving on to the design phase, and shortly here we will be putting out a call for designers effectively. We're still working on how to do that most effectively and make sure we're not creating too much churn and doing too much design by committee. But that is something that's on our radar, and we're figuring out how to do that most effectively right now. We would prefer to go down the path of community design, but if needed, we can go down the path of foundation design. So, and by that I mean, getting funds from the foundation to hire a contractor to help us, because we do have a wireframe already. We do have quite a bit of content mocked out, so we just really need the design layer on top of that.
Tierney, a different sort of lens in the foundation and community design. I just wanted to note that we have the foundation that just went through and landed a design. Are we paying attention to that, and as we build this out to coordinate at that level as well?
So I've talked a bit with Tracy Lee, who's on the call, about that, and generally the two designs are very different. They're working toward very different things, and we'd honestly love to have the foundation stuff back inside of the Node.js website, rather than having the subdomain that's maintained exclusively by the foundation, because there's a lot of kind of duplication of information there. But the design was from the Linux Foundation kind of template, and then iterated on with some of the Node.js colors and things like that. The mock-ups that we have had, so the wireframes, sorry, that Adam has created are pretty significantly different, and I couldn't be easily done in the framework that the foundation has done. It's basically the default Linux Foundation framework for getting a design. So yes, it's been considered, and I don't think we'd love to have more unification there. I don't know if, as it stands, it looks like it's going to be like a shoe-in.
Okay.
So yeah, that's kind of where that stands. Awesome. So unless anyone else has something they'd like to add from initiatives, working groups, anything like that, we can move on to the agenda. Cool. So there's the Node.js build repo, bots and apps in the org. So this is something an issue I created, and I added the CC agenda label because this has come up a few times recently. Unfortunately, we don't have kind of the stakeholders here that I was hoping we would. But the ComCom has a few different areas where getting understanding around bots, or they want to use bots in the org, the GitHub org, for one purpose or another. Internationalization is one. And then I believe there was one under website redesign or something around that. I could be mistaking that. But basically getting an update on how we can start doing that, because I know quite a bit of work was done previously around that. And this is more just as an FYI right now. I don't know, there hasn't been any updates or comments in the issue, so I will kind of follow up on that and ping. But yeah, there's not been any additional work there. Michael, do you have like, I know you're involved with the TSC pretty deeply. Do you know what the status is on that, or like if there's some update that's been shared?
Yeah, I haven't seen anything recent on that.
Okay, cool.
And I guess and I haven't looked at that one in particular, but it comes down to what privileges does the bot need. I think I'd read in the past that there, yeah, actually, I just don't have enough context. I won't go in. I won't try to answer anything. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, yeah. So I think, just if anyone does have context there, that'd be super helpful. And I'll follow up again. I guess one question that I have, Michael, is that the right repo for that? Is that a good repo? Because that was kind of what William said. It was like the final blocker was the build repo. And so that's where I put that.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of comes to like, if it's something we need to do out of what we've normally agreed to, it's maybe more of a TSC question, or, as opposed to strictly build. Like build would be like, okay, technically we need to give privileges or not, but if there's not agreement that that's generally something we do, which I think there was like a bots policy that kind of said no, right?
Yeah, and my understanding of that was because of private repos, which have all been expunged. They're all in a different organization now.
Right. And
I could be wrong. There could be a different reason. But it would be very helpful if like that could be documented somewhere, I guess. And this isn't the first or the third or the fifth or the 10th time I've been asked about this. Like there's quite a few people who want to be able to do things around this. And we're just not having explicit documentation around this is kind of, or an understanding.
I definitely think we want maybe something in the admin repo that says like,
yeah,
I think we've got something documented somewhere, something that says, now that we've moved all these things to private repos, can we actually update this? Are people comfortable updating it to be something different?
Okay. Yeah.
The proposal for like what that is, I think might get things discussed again.
And like listing the actual, because like, I mean, the options for what you can and can't do with the permissions are fairly static. So
yeah.
Like listing these ones are okay to turn on, like you don't need like explicit approval for these, but these ones you do. That would be probably helpful.
Exactly. Yeah, listing out what we propose you can get easily, or what you can get with approval, and what you just can't get at all would be good.
Yeah, that would be super helpful. Okay. So I'll also create an issue for that in the admin repo and ask, because like I don't even know who the stakeholders for that are.
I think that's the right spot, because I think once there's agreement in that group that yes, we can do it, then on the build side, I don't know exactly who would do it, but it's much easier because it's not really, it's more of I just do work as opposed to figure out if it's okay or not.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Okay. Cool. So I think that's resolved for now. I'll take the agenda item off of that. We should be good. I will follow up on that with the admin repo. So the next item on the agenda is the Node.js TSC meeting, or sorry, repo about wiki management. I don't have a ton of context on this. Do you, Michael? Do you know?
Yeah, I followed the discussion there. I mean, basically the discussion's been that the wiki was out of date, had stale information. The other part is that, we actually have some information on the nodejs.org, some there. So, the suggestion was it really wasn't good to have two different places to go to get your information. I think it was all triggered because there was also some wiki vandalization as well. So the proposal was that actually we just get rid of the wiki, move what information is appropriate into the nodejs.org. And I think it's probably on the agenda here as sort of an FYI in that, I think the wiki's actually already been disabled. And, the plan is to move any, people can move whatever info they find that's missing over is the thing.
Gotcha. Okay.
And if anybody in ComCom has objections or whatever, that was sort of an FYI on that side.
Awesome. Oh yeah, I guess I'm the one who added the agenda item. So
yep.
Sorry, I didn't realize that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that does look like the context. Okay. Cool. That might be something good to create an issue in the website repo, website redesign repo about. But I don't know if we need to at this point. I guess we can link to the wiki as a source of some getting started content.
Yeah,
okay.
I think it was going to be driven by if anybody knew of something useful, they could pull it over, kind of thing.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, so I think we can take that off or I took it off the agenda, but we can move on to the next agenda item. Travel fund. So the next item is in Node.js admin. Travel fund approval and being careful about funds available. I think we just haven't taken it off the agenda. Do you know if, this was a while ago. Tracy, do you know if this still needs to be on the agenda? Oh, wait, no.
I'm getting the sense that we don't need it on the agenda anymore. I've been trying to coordinate a little bit with Tracy and I believe with Anne-Marie.
Yeah.
And so at this point, we're just figuring out how we want to best move forward with possibly CI or something like that. But I think we've had the discussion we need to have for now. That's my sense of it, but feel free to...
Yeah, totally. I think it's just, it's like, it's not like behind closed doors. It's just like nothing that the committee, I think at this point it's just Jem getting to work with the foundation team.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. Awesome. And thank you very much, Jem, for taking that on. Really appreciate it.
But I will ask, is Michael would probably be the best person for this. Has the TSC moved forward with the treasurer? Or do we need to open an issue saying like, hey, we're doing this on, I know there had been a little bit of discussion, but.
No, nothing formal's been done. I mean, last, as I remember in that discussion is, we knew Jem had volunteered.
Yeah.
Miles had sort of pushed back on, we need somebody in the foundation. So I think the next step in my mind would be to write down, here's like a PR something into the admin repo that says, here's how it's going to be managed.
Yeah, and then I think we need to make sure that the TSC is aware that there should be someone from the TSC as treasurer. Like, we're not going to force the TSC to be a treasurer, but like, ComCom's going to have one. It would be helpful for TSC to have one to support coordinating.
Do we need two?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Like, I'd assume we could just have one person who did it across.
Right. So the reason that we have treasurers in general is because they have to be able to provide the context to the foundation so that like Tracy and Anne don't have to dig all of that stuff up. And so like a treasurer from ComCom and a treasurer from the TSC are the ones who are positioned to say, yes, these people are active in the community. You know, I'm making sure that like our group in particular is aware and approving because like we're both the TSC and ComCom. You know, I think the rules is set right now is that like if they're from the TSC or if they're from the ComCom, like someone from that group tends to plus one it because they have the context versus someone from like the larger project.
Right, but once it's approved by some TSC members, you know,
Yeah.
one treasurer can do it for both. Like, I agree that the approvals require the context, but not saying, okay, yeah, there's enough approvals, let's close it out.
I think we just want to make sure that we don't leave TSC out. So,
yep.
Yeah,
yeah. I mean,
definitely.
I'd be in favor to just say, you know, we've got the one treasurer who's going to do this, and my guess is everybody will be happy to have Jem do that. If people object during the PR, then we can, you know, go from there. But otherwise, and I guess, you know, I'd volunteer to say if there's cases where that doesn't work, you know, Jem can reach out to me and I'll help out. And if that doesn't end up being the right thing, we can always change later on.
Yeah.
And I do think that
Jem.
All right.
I just want to make sure that we aren't assuming on Jem's you know, taking this, because Jem has volunteered to take responsibility for us in the ComCom. But let's not presume, please, that you know, this additional responsibility is something that Jem wants to take on.
I am very happy to help in any way I can. So.
Okay. So I would say like wave your hands if we start, especially because the collab summits tend to be the most, you know, the traffic time of year in terms of these requests. If it gets overwhelming, definitely let us know because it shouldn't take up that much of your time.
Yeah, so far I've been good. I did send an email yesterday around a couple questions or requests. So I will follow up.
All right, so I guess that's awesome. So Michael, to your point, you were saying we should PR this to the admin repo as like an FYI. Okay.
Yeah, I think PRing, well, it's good to have it written down, and then that also is a, you know, it's a good checkpoint. People have a chance to look at and comment or not.
Yeah, and I think positioning it as saying like, you know, we've selected Jem via the ComCom. Jem is happy to represent for the admin repo and cover that. But if the TSC would like to have someone as a treasurer, we welcome it, right?
Yeah, I would personally, I would basically just say he's volunteered to take this role, which, you know, in the admin repo spans both groups. So like not even imply any separation, just, you know, he's volunteered to take on this responsibility.
Yeah.
Let us know if you have any concerns, kind of thing. But
just from history's sake, I want to make sure that they feel that they've had input.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, it's like, you know, he's volunteered to do this role, and if there's any concerns or you know, or if you'd like to volunteer, we could even say like, or if you want to be involved in as well, let us know, right? Yeah. So I
imagine they'll be happy that Jem is taking it on.
That's what my guess is, and you're right that, you know, we always want to have and clearly let us know if this doesn't make sense to you. Yeah.
Awesome.
So I tried to raise a hand there, if I could, whenever we're, man.
You can. Go ahead.
So I think that this treasurer role that we're circling around is an interesting opportunity for us to invest in admin and have it be not a ComCom role that is, you know, serving the ComCom, but, you know, as Tracy is articulating, you know, this is a role in admin, and, you know, begin to explore that cross-functional space.
Yeah, that's exactly my thinking, is that this is just a role we need filled for the project, and, you know, yes, we can treat it as a common shared thing, right?
Yeah. Okay.
I also do think that probably ends up leading toward the admin group meetings, the cross-functional TSC ComCom meetings that I think Miles proposed quite a while ago that I don't think we ever got traction on. Yep. But that's probably a good time to start doing that, or thinking about that at least again.
Yeah, like for example, you know, if we need some sort of like quarterly update on the travel fund, that would be a good topic to handle in one of those meetings.
Yeah, and I mean, I honestly think probably a quarterly meeting is probably a good time because there's not enough work being done there right now to merit like bi-weekly, I don't think. But once a quarter would be probably more than sufficient. So.
This all sounds good. I think we can take the ComCom label off this issue though.
I think I already did.
Okay.
Let me go double check. But I think I did already, unless I didn't. Yes, I did. Cool. So I think we're good on that. I'm glad that was on that label was left up because we had a significant amount to discuss. So I think we can move on to the next agenda item, unless anyone else has something they'd like to add. Okay. So next item is another item that probably should have had the label taken off, but we've had a little bit of an update. The ComCom membership call for feedback on new definitions. So I think quite a bit of the definitions have gone into a PR that has been broadly accepted by the community committee, the membership who have voted on it, and it looks like it's all approvals. Like 5 approvals and no rejections. I don't want to load that issue right now because it crashes my computer or my Chrome.
That's what I was going to say. Don't click on it.
Yeah, I started to and it started to load and I quickly clicked off because I remembered the pain of trying to review it. Yeah, so I don't think there's anything else to discuss here on this.
Tony, are the approvers folks that were not actively in the discussion? So folks that were
yeah, I guess I could try to open it and tell you that.
Sorry, don't do it. I was just curiosity.
Okay.
One that the folks that are like reading through and buying in are not the folks that were creating it, right? Because they're already bought in because you created it.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, I see. So you actually wanted the reverse of that. You wanted to see if the people who weren't participating are also agreeing with it.
Right.
Okay, let's see here. So I opened it, 1, 2, so it looks like 2 of the people who reviewed it were not in that group of 5. That said, I believe because of how long it was open and because of the number of approvals, there wasn't any, we basically followed the consensus seeking model.
You bet.
And there weren't objections, so it actually got pushed up to the board, I believe, and they discussed it. Beyond that, I can't share a lot. But
yeah, I should say that just to note that that PR is like there's still more work to be done. I think that there's other to-dos and further PRs, like even that what we've got up and ready to merge. Once that's been green lighted from the board or as like also approved. Yeah, it's like we have other work we have to do. I think it's already been noted about like Emeriti needs further detail. There's an errata, sorry, however it's pronounced, PR that's going to have to happen as well. Oop. I probably dropped.
I can hear you, Tracy.
Okay. Sorry, Tony. But yeah, so there's an errata filing for sure and an Emeriti filing that's going to happen after that. But we've got so many big changes in that one PR before it's really wise to try and open up another PR against that stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely only a first step to restructuring things, and I don't think the changes possibly here are, I don't say they are the less important, but they've been approved, and as Tracy said, the PR just sit here for long days. So I think the consensus has been reached here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and probably because it's so big and long, it might be good to, I know there might be some external things we need to wait on, but once it can land, it would be good to get it landed. And like you said, then the new PRs would be probably more consumable as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
yeah, we do have to wait. Sorry, go ahead, Tracy.
Yeah, no, you're right. And that should be soon, though. It's just unfortunate that we do have to wait. And then the other thing I think out of this, though, if we're talking about, and Manil should be able to talk further on this as well, is we've probably got some other work that needs to happen around like working group language potentially, or like other sort of outside of like definitions of, I think we have these as issues, but outside of definitions of like what a member is in ComCom and how you get there, we do need to spend more time on these other groups that we want to empower so that people don't feel like they need to be a member.
Yeah.
There's definitely some, we need to get working groups worked out shortly here, not long after membership, hopefully.
Yeah. So Manil, I think that's to that effect. Do you think that would be a good next meeting for us? Because I think we still have those as standing meetings on the calendar.
That would make sense. Yes, if there is further work to be done, we already have the scheduling in place to rally around that. That would make sense. That plus the other language, so we'd make the most of that time.
Cool.
Just on the subject raised by Dan, would you think it would help if we made an issue where we put some sort of resume of the changes made by this PR and the diff made by Miles? Just as an information.
Personally, for me, absolutely. I can't speak for others, but me personally, I would love to do that.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if something like a blog post or something that once it lands basically goes through and says, hey, this is what's changed.
Yeah, definitely when it lands. But in the meantime, if people can't load the PR because it has too many comments, maybe we do a PR to give information to people who can't access it.
Oh, so this brings up a good point, because I think we had, I want to say we talked about this before, where when big things happen, big changes happen. And I think Dan may have actually requested this prior for this sort of subcommittee, that we document this in like a history markdown file so that we have an explanation of like, you know, the evolution of this work. And I think that this particular PR has a lot of those strong changes in it. So it would be good for us to have that as like a markdown file in the repo
Yeah, that had definitely been requested before, and I was the one who tried to take it on, and it was a lot. It was specifically around the buffer constructor 2 years ago, and that was a thing that we tried to offer through evangelism that didn't end up playing out. But that'd be definitely helpful.
Yeah, I think this is a good small start too, because it's right now it's very specifically focused or scoped to these changes, but we'll have further changes with, you know, we can kind of rip out a summary from the notes that we already have from the prior session. So I think we'll be able to get it down into like a very digestible, smaller document. Manil, I'd be happy to work with you on that if you'd like.
I would love to help, Crazy.
Cool.
Awesome. Do we have anything else we want to say on this specific subject? It's not really just an issue, but it's a subject. Okay. ComCom changelog, exactly. Okay, so I think we can probably hop on to the next issue. I will let you know, we have 6 minutes before we have to go into private session. So is this anyone have specific requests on which of the remaining agenda items we should drop into?
I just have a small issue on the mentorship program that I want to discuss. It's about, it's basically an initiative. It was submitted by Alex. He's joining us here in the meeting today. So I'd love to have him talk about it a little.
Awesome, sounds good.
Should I go ahead and do that now?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Okay. So it was just an idea, because I'm not really involved with the Node ecosystem as of yet. I'm trying to find my starting point. And I wasn't really sure what I wanted to work on. So I kind of asked if there was a document somewhere that said what would be the most useful things to work on for the benefit of the ecosystem. And if there was not a document like that, I laid out a plan for what I thought it might look like. And I can link to that issue in the chat. But
yeah, that'd be great.
Pretty much all the ideas I had are in that issue.
Can you paste it in, or did you?
He did. All panelists and attendees, it should be there. Yeah, I love this. This is great. So I will give a little bit of context. Tracy and I at one point were working on the Getting Started repo, but it's been relatively inactive recently. There were some ideas around it, and like there's a few consistent things across the organization, like the good first issue label. That said, this could totally supersede that. Like this is great. And if you want to take on this work, you're absolutely welcome to.
Yeah, PR to it.
Sure, yes. I would love to, except like I said, I'm not really involved yet. I'm trying to get started, so I really have no context around where the needs are. So
right. So
go ahead.
The thing I'd add is like that, this fits with my recommendation to people, which is often to like look at the different working groups and, pick one of those where you have an interest, where I can see you're talking a bit about that. So I'd be happy to sort of bring you into each of the working group meetings that I'm involved in. If that helps to sort of give you some context, we can have a discussion there to say, here's what you're doing, and make everybody aware that if they have something that they'd like to kind of add to that list, you're the person to reach out to, or where to PR and stuff that in. So
I'd love to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is something I'm super passionate about as well. And so I'd be like, if you have any questions or anything specific you want to know, or like any you want to get started somewhere, you want to kind of understand certain bits, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. This is one of the things I care about the most.
Okay. Would you mind pasting your handle, your GitHub handle in the chat for me?
Yep. There you go.
Here I'm MH Dawson. So yeah, I'm almost thinking like, Tierney, would it make sense for the three of us to get together?
Yeah.
And, I can take the charge on some of the working groups that I'm involved in. I know you're involved in other ones that I'm not involved in, and we'll sort of figure out a plan to get those covered.
Yeah.
Because I think sort of getting the introduction to what they are and then making some contacts is a good way to try and build the linkages to say, well, how do we add things to this list?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to add, because this really aligns with the mentorship program, because we're currently trying to like set 6-month goals that revolves around the Node ecosystem. So the mentees can we can help them choose where to start in the mentorship program and how to start helping Node in general, like in the different working groups. So I definitely would love to help this, pushing this forward as well.
Yeah, because I kind of see the working groups and the strategic initiatives are probably the best place to find sort of a more longer term contribution path. I know we've got things like good first issue and stuff like that, but if we can kind of find something that matches the person's interest, like performance or
Docker or
whatever. Yeah, Docker, exactly. I think that's a good way to sort of leverage what people already know while they get involved in our project, which is what we really want.
As I mentioned in there, also having to have good first issue relies on having people label things as such, which can be hard when you're understaffed. So
yeah,
and they also get up pretty easily.
Right. I think that you're navigating this very well. The thing that I always advise is, ask first when engaging with working groups to see if someone can help, and never assume that folks, have additional capacity to help. In fact, assume the opposite.
Right. Yeah, I think, what I'm suggesting is we just help help get the connection to the working group so that, he feels comfortable to attend and that people know there's somebody who's kind of willing to help coordinate some of this. Because I even like was just mentioned, it's sometimes hard to tag things as good first issue, right? But if somebody has time to sort of go through and say, hey, is this a good first issue, then I think people can more easily respond to that, right?
Nice.
So.
I can actually do that if credit has been given, if permission has been given to me to do it. I can work on the good first issue and go through it. Like currently, the mentorship team, we are still looking forward in having our collaborators on from each of the working groups to assist us with the mentorship and matching process. So if anybody is actually interested in getting hands-on on a good first issue, I think someone can start off from there now before everything and everything.
Nice.
I don't know if that's okay. Is that okay? Is that okay? Do I have the permission to take on that task on labeling good first issues?
I think, like, in terms of labeling the issues, I think it's more of a, like, for the working groups, it would be maybe perhaps looking at them and asking if this is a good one.
Yeah, that can be done. I can actually go through the working groups and ask them on open issues on the ones I feel are good for good first issues. Then if the working groups approve on them, then the label can go on them.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's probably good to start out with an issue that says, hey, I'm one of the things we want to do is to help, the people who are volunteering to find issues that might be good. Do you mind if I go through the issues on a regular basis and kind of tag, ping you guys to think which ones are you people, which ones you think are going to be good first issues or not. And hopefully, the working group members say, sure, that sounds like a great idea. But just having asked up ahead gives a little bit of context when people see what you're doing too.
Okay. Yeah. All right. That can be done. I can open an issue and ask from the working group if I can work on just those to them. So I think I'll do that at the end of the meeting.
Can I clarify one thing real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so one of the benefits of the document I was describing is that it doesn't have to be at an issue level per se.
Agreed.
Thing like this is an area that this working group needs help with, or the code base needs attention on, so that then perhaps people could come together in groups and work on that whole area rather than having to tag specific issues, et cetera.
Yeah, that's the only downside to that, AJ, is it's not a downside, sorry. Someone has to maintain that. So that's one of the reasons why getting started has sort of it ages out pretty quickly.
Okay.
Because but that's not a bad thing. If you're willing, and if someone, if people get into, the cadence of being able to update that as we evolve in the challenges that we have, that's great. We just don't want, again, we don't want stale stuff that people are excited, they see this, and then they go to help out and it turns out that's just no longer a thing. And that's why I think we've been sort of lazy. It's not lazy, I guess there's a better word for it, but sort of saying check out these issues, because the issues, we know there's always going to be issues and we try to label. But I think you're right that the issues, digging through issues is not newcomer friendly.
No.
Right.
In general. No. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I think if he has time to help put something together, and it's sort of if we end up in a position where we don't have anybody to maintain, then maybe we remove this stuff, but it's certainly valuable while we can maintain it.
Yeah.
So
I would recommend everybody take a look at the issue I created. I went into pretty good depth on all of those topics.
Yeah.
So I'm going to time box us. We do need to drop into our private session. But I definitely do suggest everyone go check that out, because it looks like a really solid base, and I definitely love to see that work done. And please don't hesitate to reach out and let us know how we can help you.
Okay, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
I guess in terms of setting up that meeting, can you send either Tierney or myself your contact info, so we I guess probably email, so we can set up a meeting and get
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good.
Thank you again.
Thanks.
Awesome. So for the live stream, we're going to cut the live stream off now. We're going to ask observers to leave. And members, ComCom members, please stay on the call. We do want to discuss some things in the private session. Thanks, El.
Thanks.